The awakening of Earth. The first anomaly appeared in the Arctic Circle, a perfect hexagonal depression 30 kilometers wide that wasn't there the day before. Scientists were baffled. Seismographs had recorded nothing. Satellites had detected no impact, yet overnight, a massive geometric shape had been carved into the ice with surgical precision. Dr. Maya Kapoor stared at the satellite feed in her cramped office at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Dark circles framed her eyes after 48 hours without sleep. She zoomed in on the hexagon's unnaturally smooth edges, then swiped to another screen showing identical formations that had appeared simultaneously in the Sahara Desert, the Australian outback, and the depths of the Pacific Ocean. "They're not random," she muttered to herself. "They're coordinates." Her colleague, Dr. James Chen, entered the office carrying 2 cups of coffee, his normally immaculate appearance now disheveled from the same sleepless marathon. "The Pentagon's freaking out. UN Security Council is in emergency session, and now Beijing's reporting another one." Maya accepted the coffee without looking up. "James, I need you to overlay these formations with the star charts from SETI." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "I think these are navigation markers. Someone's coming. Or they're already here," James replied, his voice dropping to a whisper. Before Maya could respond, the lights flickered. Their screens went dark, then returned, but showing different images. A face appeared, or what they assumed was a face, translucent, with multiple eyes arranged in concentric rings around an opening that pulsed with light as it spoke. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Council. Your planet has been under assessment for the past 73 of your years. The assessment is now complete. You have been found wanting." The message repeated worldwide, in every language, on every device capable of producing an image. Humanity's first official contact with alien life came not with a handshake, but a judgment. Within hours, strange machines materialized in Earth's orbit, massive lattices of unknown metal that unfurled like cosmic flowers. The world's militaries launched missiles. Fighter jets scrambled. Nothing reached the alien constructs. The missiles disappeared mid-flight. The jets returned with confused pilots reporting missing time. In the chaos that followed, Colonel Sandra Hayes of United States Space Force mobilized a covert team of specialists. Maya and James were among the 12 experts gathered in an underground facility beneath the New Mexico desert. Scientists, soldiers, linguists, and a single political representative, Ambassador Lekan Okafor from Nigeria. "What we're about to share doesn't leave this room," Hayes began, her weathered face grave beneath cropped silver hair. She nodded to a technician who activated a holographic display. This footage was recovered from classified archives dating back to 1947. The group watched in stunned silence as the hologram showed the familiar images of Roswell, but continued beyond what had ever been made public, the recovery not just of debris, but of technology and biological specimens. Most disturbing were recordings of communication devices that had been slowly broadcasting data from Earth for decades. "They've been studying us," Hayes continued. "Not for 73 years as they claim, but longer. And they've been influencing us, subtly manipulating global events, technological development, even social evolution." "To what end?" Ambassador Okafor asked, his deep voice steady despite the implications. A new person stepped forward, Dr. Eliza Mori, a quantum physicist whose work on theoretical dimensions had been dismissed by the scientific community for years. "Resource extraction," she said simply. "But not the resources we value, minerals, water, or even biological samples. They're harvesting something else." She projected a new series of images, global maps showing peculiar energy fluctuations that had been occurring and intensifying over decades. "They're draining what I can only describe as the quantum potential of our planet, the creative chaos that makes Earth unique in the galaxy, our capacity for rapid adaptation, innovation, and unpredictability. Our humanity," James whispered. "They're stealing what makes us human, and killing our planet in the process," Maya added, pulling up environmental data that showed accelerating degradation patterns far beyond what climate change models had predicted. These hexagons, they're not just markers. They're anchor points for massive extractors. Colonel Hayes's expression hardened. So what do? We can't fight them conventionally. For the first time since the meeting began, Ambassador Okafor smiled. No, but we can fight them like humans. Unpredictably. What followed was the most audacious plan ever conceived by humans. While governments worldwide negotiated with the Galactic Council, buying time with promises of cooperation and submission, Hayes's team implemented Operation Chaos Theory. They identified 7 humans whose brainwave patterns showed unusual resistance to the Council's subtle influence. These 7, a Brazilian street artist, a Finnish computer programmer, a Kenyan long-distance runner, a Japanese quantum engineer, an Australian Aboriginal elder, a Canadian hockey player, and a Moroccan mathematician, became the core of humanity's resistance. Dr. Mori developed a device that could amplify their neural patterns, creating what she called quantum dissonance, a force that disrupted the Council's harvesting technology. The plan was simple but desperate. Position these individuals at strategic points around the globe and activate the devices simultaneously, creating a feedback loop that would not only disrupt the extraction process, but potentially reverse it. The Council detected the plan too late. As their massive ships descended toward Earth's atmosphere, humanity struck first. In Rio de Janeiro, street artist Luis Santos activated his device while painting a massive mural depicting Earth breaking free from chains. In Helsinki, programmer Aino Virtanen triggered hers while releasing a virus that replicated the quantum dissonance effect through the global digital network. In Nairobi, marathon runner Jabari Kamani activated his, while running a path that precisely mirrored the Council's orbital patterns. Across the globe, the 7 points of resistance created a new geometric pattern, a uniquely human response to the Council's clinical hexagons. The machines in orbit began to shudder and distort. The messages from the Council became fragmented, desperate. What? You doing? This. Impossible. You are. Primitive species. Ambassador Okafor, standing in the control room with Hayes and the others, leaned toward the communication array. No, he replied calmly. We are human, and you have taken enough from us. The feedback loop intensified. The Council's ships began to withdraw, their perfect formations now chaotic. But as they retreated, a final message came through. This is merely delay. We are the Council. We are many. We will return with greater force. As the alien presence faded from Earth's skies, Colonel Hayes turned to her team, her expression grim but determined. Then we better be ready for them. The first battle was over. Earth had won, for now. But the war for humanity's future had just begun. Defiance of the stars. 6 months after the Council's retreat, Earth had transformed. Nations that had warred for centuries now stood united against an existential threat. The global economy had been restructured around a single purpose, preparing for the Council's return. In a repurposed missile silo beneath the Rocky Mountains, the Resistance headquarters buzzed with activity. What had begun as a desperate 12-person operation now employed thousands of the brightest minds from every corner of the planet. Colonel Hayes, now General Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force, strode through the central command hub where holographic displays tracked the construction of defensive platforms in Earth orbit. She approached the strategy table where Maya, James, and Dr. Mori were deep in discussion with the 7 Resistance members whose brainwaves had saved humanity. The quantum dissonance was only temporary. Dr. Mori was explaining, her hands manipulating a 3D model of energy patterns. The Council will have adapted by now. Then we adapt faster, said Eiko Nakamura, the Japanese quantum engineer whose contributions had been crucial to weaponizing the dissonance effect. We need to understand not just how to repel them, but why they want what they're taking from us. Ambassador Okafor, now serving as Earth's first Secretary General of Unified Defense, Join the conversation. Our translators have been working on the data recovered from their communications. We believe they call themselves the Concordat, not the Council. And they've been harvesting planets for millennia. But why Earth specifically? Asked Maya. What makes us special? A new voice answered, Elder Marley Cooper, the Australian Aboriginal woman whose connection to the land had provided critical insights into the Council's extraction methods. Because we dream, she said simply. Most species evolve logically. Humans evolved creatively. Our minds don't follow predictable patterns. We imagine possibilities that don't exist, then make them real. Quantum creativity, Dr. Mori nodded. The ability to collapse probability waves through sheer will and imagination. It's theoretically one of the rarest resources in the universe. General Hayes placed both hands on the table. So we weaponize our creativity. How long until they return? Based on their retreat vectors and what we've learned of their propulsion technology. James replied, 3 weeks, maybe less. The room fell silent until Luis Santos, the Brazilian street artist, laughed suddenly. When everyone turned to him, he shrugged. Sorry, but isn't it obvious? They expect us to build bigger guns, stronger shields. Let's do what humans do best, something completely unexpected. What followed was the most unorthodox war council in human history. Instead of military strategists dominating the conversation, artists collaborated with physicists, musicians worked with aerospace engineers, chefs consulted with materials scientists. The resulting plan was so absurd, so uniquely human, that even Hayes had trouble believing it might work. You want to hack them, she repeated incredulously. With art. With stories, corrected Jabari Kamani, the Kenyan runner. With music, with food, with games, with everything that makes us human. We'll transmit our creativity directly into their systems. The plan crystallized rapidly. Earth's satellite network was repurposed to become the largest broadcasting array ever constructed. Every form of human creativity would be concentrated, encoded using Dr. Mori's quantum algorithms, and beamed directly at the approaching Council fleet. The world's greatest musicians composed pieces that contained hidden mathematical patterns designed to resonate with and disrupt the Council's technology. Authors and poets created narratives encoded with mimetic structures that would replicate through alien communication networks like viruses. Visual artists produced works with embedded optical patterns that could override the neurological systems of Council members. It was beautiful. It was desperate. It was quintessentially human. When the Council's fleet reappeared 16 days later, Earth was ready, not with weapons, but with culture. The broadcast began. The Council's ships, vast crystalline structures that dwarfed anything humanity had built, slowed their approach. Their formation, previously perfect and geometric, began to waver. Individual vessels broke formation, their movements becoming erratic. In the command center, the team watched with bated breath as the telemetry showed the first signs of their plan working. The Council's communications became fragmented, confused. What is this? Systems. Compromised. Strange. Thoughts. Emerging. They're experiencing human creativity for the first time, Dr. Mori whispered, watching the energy readings fluctuate wildly. Not as a resource to be harvested, but as a force to be reckoned with. The largest Council ship, a behemoth at the center of their fleet, suddenly began broadcasting on all frequencies. The message was different, not the cold, mechanical communication from before, but something almost emotional. We have existed for millions of your years. We have harvested thousands of worlds. Never have we encountered this. You do not create as other species create. You create irrationally. Impossibly. You imagine what cannot be, then force reality to comply. General Hayes leaned forward. That's right. And if you ever threaten our planet again, we'll get really creative. For 72 hours, the Council fleet remained in position, neither advancing nor retreating, seemingly paralyzed by the onslaught of human expression. Then, one by one, The ships began to depart, not in the coordinated retreat of their first withdrawal, but individually, chaotically, as if each vessel had made its own decision. The final message came from a small ship, lingering after the others had gone. I am Thoraxis, third speaker of the Concordat. I stay to warn you. The Council is divided now. Some wish to destroy your world completely. Others wish to learn from you. I am of the latter. Prepare yourselves. Change comes to the galaxy, and it begins with Earth. In the aftermath, as celebrations erupted across the planet, the core team gathered once more in the command center. The mood was victorious but somber. We've only bought time, General Hayes said, studying the departure vectors of the Council ships. And we've made both allies and enemies out there. Exactly as humanity has always done. Ambassador Okafor replied with a small smile. We've announced ourselves to the galaxy not as victims or as conquerors, but as humans. Unpredictable, creative, defiant. Maya looked at the star map now dotted with possible Council worlds. We should go to them next, she said softly, not wait for them to come back. Take our creativity to the stars. James nodded in agreement. Exploration. That's another thing humans do rather well. As the team dispersed to begin planning Earth's next steps, Dr. Mori remained at the console, studying the quantum readings from the encounter. Something had changed, not just in the Council, but in humanity itself. The experience of unified resistance, of weaponizing their creativity, had altered the very quantum potential she had been measuring. We're evolving, she whispered to herself, faster than they could have predicted. In her mind, she could already see the next chapter unfolding. Humanity stepping onto the galactic stage, not as a primitive species to be harvested, but as a force of chaotic creativity that could reshape the very foundations of a stagnant cosmic order. The Council had crossed a line, and humanity's fury, channeled into unprecedented creation rather than destruction, had not just saved Earth, it had changed the universe. Somewhere among the stars, third speaker Thoraxis was spreading the word. Beware of humans. They do not follow the rules of the cosmos. They make their own.